Hi friends, this video consists of 6th, 7th and 8th Feb editorials. Now I'm planning to do an editorial twice in a week. That is, I'll combine 3 days newspaper in one editorial and post it in once in 3 days. So please give me your feedback regarding that. Now starting with the first editorial, which is targeting the old scourges. This is about the new deadline proposed by the government to eliminate the various diseases. So there's been a deadline to eliminate diseases like TB, Kala Azar, filariasis, leprosy and measles, etc. See, the deadline is appreciable, but the main concern is the main concern regarding India's healthcare is that there's no timetable for the universal health coverage by the Indian government, and also the government has not increased its health expenditure. So given these two concerns, there's been a doubt expressed on meeting these deadlines. Coming to the tuberculosis and the problem associated, so now, the government has come out with the well-funded 5-year scheme to meet the TB challenge, and which is beginning from 2017. So, from 2017 to 2022, the government has come out with 5-year scheme of well-funded 5-year scheme to meet the TB challenge, and also the deadline to completely eliminate the TB disease from India is proposed to be 2025. But coming to the concerns, or what is needed is improved healthcare or health system capability in order to meet the daily drug requirements. So in order to eliminate the TB, the main requirement is the drugs which should be made available every day. So we have to enhance the capability of a healthcare to meet this daily requirement of the drug. And also there should be a feeling of ownership at the state level. So state level should take up more responsibility regarding the elimination of the TB diseases. And also, as pointed out from the WHO, that is World Health Organization, there's lack of integration of private doctors into the national mission on TB. So for the guaranteed access to drugs, so if we integrate the private doctors with the national mission on TB, we can ensure or guarantee the access to the drugs. And also the main concern is the lack of monitoring of the patients. So this is very much essential, so in order to prevent the drug resistant TB. So next is Kala Azar. So Kala Azar is a prominent candidate for the elimination of this year. So Kala Azar can be eliminated this year. We'll see the reasons, because it's mainly spread in the two states. So it's more prevalent in the two states, that is Bihar and the Jharkhand, and it's also caused by the protozoan parasite. And plus it doesn't have any animal reservoir. So since it doesn't have any animal reservoir and caused by protozoan parasite, and can also we can prevent this Kala Azar by preventing or controlling the vector, which is the sandfly. If we control the sandfly vector, we can prevent the spread of these diseases. Now coming to the filariasis, what is needed in order to eliminate the filariasis disease is that good medical protocol should be pursued, and also pockets of filariasis can be removed. Now coming to our next editorial, which is the return to a dangerous normal. This editorial speaks about the oil spill, the recent oil spill in the Chennai's coast. So coming to the nature of petroleum oils, these are very toxic and also bioaccumulative. That is, it keeps on accumulating into the organisms and moves on to the higher level. And also they are persistent in environment, so they cannot be removed easily from the environment. And some are also known as an carcinogens, that are known to cause cancer in humans, and they enter the body or human body through inhalation and ingestion, and also through skin. Cleanup of such hazardous waste, we have to be very careful while cleaning up such hazardous waste remediation exercise. So when people are involved in such exercise, there should be safeguards. But as we saw in the Chennai coast, there was not much safeguards used. They were not wearing helmets or hand gloves, etc. So this is a very dangerous trend. The writer speaks about the complete cleanup, not the cleanup for just for the namesake, but the completely cleaning up the site and ensuring that there's no contaminants left behind. Now, taking up a previous examples of the cleaning up sites like the Bhopal factory or Unilever's mercury contaminated site in Kodaikanal or DDT lay soils of Hindustan insecticides in Ellore, Kerala, the sites are not completely cleaned up then because there's still contaminants left behind affecting the people. So what is needed here, it's not for the we just not have to show the clean up on the papers but also clean up the site completely. Now, taking the situation near Kamraja Port, now another important point for PT is the Kamraja Port is the first corporatized port. So this is important from the PT point of view. Now, taking the situation there, the port has been, there has been dumping of sand onto the salt pans that are part of Ennore wetlands. So there are salt pans that are part of Ennore wetlands, and there has been dumping of the salt near the port, and also petroleum industries near the ports are discharging this oily chemical influence, and also the power plants are discharging the coal ash and hot wastewater into this into the wetlands, so thus affecting the wetlands there. So to conclude, the cleanup will only address the toxic oil residue. So when you clean up now, it will only address the toxic oily residue. But what is needed is the governance deficit needs to be fixed. Whatever the government deficit is there, that should be fixed. If you have to avert the death of a life support system through the slow motion disaster of day-to-day pollution or shock incidents like oil spills. So in order to our ecosystems which are the life support system for us are very much essential. So in order to prevent its death, we have to improve our governance and with better monitoring, etc., so that our environment is protected. Now moving on to the next editorial. This editorial speaks about the USA and Iran issue, the new sanctions imposed by the USA on Iran due to the missile test. Now let's look at the various incidents which has taken place after Donald Trump has been elected as the president. First, there was immigration curb on the Muslims from the Iran, and now there's sanctions on the Iran for the missile test, and now the Donald Trump is trying to brand the country as the greatest state sponsor of terrorism. This all such actions will definitely affect the nuclear deal which was brought out under the presidentship of the Barack Obama. And another trend is that Donald Trump, he want to restore the bipolar balance between the Saudi Arabia and Israel. Now this is another dangerous trend because restoring balance of Saudi Arabia and Israel in West Asia, because now looking at the importance of Iran. If USA moves closer towards Saudi Arabia and Israel, now this is a dangerous trend because Iran has an influence over countries ranging from Iraq and Syria to Lebanon, and this is very much important to stabilize the West Asia. And also, if the USA moves closer towards Saudi Arabia and Israel, the Iran can what Iran will do is that it step up its activities with the other countries. So it will improve or move closer to the other countries through the Shia corridor. Then another importance of Iran is that it is very much important in order to fight the ISIS in the Iraq through its controlled militias. So Iran plays a very important role in combating the influence of ISIS, and also Iran also plays a very important role in Afghan policy, because now without the Iran, it makes USA more dependent on the Pakistan to deal with the Afghanistan or bring stability into the Afghanistan. So this was the USA and Iran issue. Moving on to the next editorial. The next editorial is rewiring the WTO. Now, this article speaks about the various issues in the WTO. First is the agriculture. So, in agriculture, there has been skewed rules which almost favor only the developed countries. And the interest of this, there are rules which are favoring the developed countries with relation to agriculture, and the interest of the small farmers are not they are totally ignored. India has flagged the issue of food security. We know that Now we know that India has flagged the issue of food security and argued that sovereign states must have the might or must have the right to decide the manner in which the poor should be provided subsidized food. So with regard to this, there was question raised on India's public stock holding of food, which is at the art of PDS. So for that we have to stockhold the food. So there was an issue raised in WTO, but now there has been peace clause, so that even though India crossed its limits was provided in the WTO through peace clause, we are not we are not, there's no plenary actions on India, but India is asking for more permanent solution than just the peace clause. Now coming to the e-commerce, the WTO is looking into to include the small MSMEs into the e-commerce. So this will expand their business and also enable the small business to overcome the hurdles in accessing the markets. But the biggest challenge is the financial resources and also the internet connection. So given the very poor penetration of internet in the developing countries, again if we the more benefited ones will be the developed countries. Now coming to the investment, so there has been previous attempts to include an investment agreement which have been met with the resistance from the developing countries. So developing countries are protesting the investment agreement because why they are protesting is that regarding this investor state dispute settlement process, here the investor the investor can sue their host. He can sue the host. For let's take an example of a state. So host is the state, he can sue the state in the private international panels. So he can sue the state in the private international panels. So this has been the major concern. So and therefore the developing countries are they are not agreeing for this for including investment in the WTO agreements. Now moving on to our next editorial, which is the testing times on NET. This speaks about the NET and TN issue. Recently, Tamil Nadu has passed various bills in order to grant itself the exemption from the NET, which is National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. And now, these bills definitely require the assent of the president because otherwise there would be, opposition or repugnant to the provisions of the Indian Medical Council Act and Dentist Act that prescribe the entrance test. Now, let's look at the reasons why Tamil Nadu passed the bills in order to grant itself the exemption from the NET. The reason being is that it's saying that it will be traumatic for the students who are who have different syllabus, who have who are studying the different syllabus other than proposed in the NET. And also it says that it will discriminate against, it will be a discrimination on the rural students and on the underprivileged students who cannot afford coaching. And also here the Tamil Nadu is saying that mostly the urban students, especially the one with the CBSE syllabus, will dominate in such exams. So as we see, there's been a conflict between the court and on the state. So court is asking for the more fair and transparent admissions to curb the commercialization of the medical education, whereas most state is more focused or interested in pursuing a socio-economic goal. So there's a conflict between the the fair and transparent admission process and also and between the socio-economic goals. No, we can't say like both are wrong or both are right. There are few points we have to consider. The question is like how can you impose uniformity on the country with lot of diversity, and also the states cannot remain insulated from from their responsibility of upgrading the education system. So there's more responsibility on both the sides, and they ensure that the main stakeholders, that are the students, are not violated of their rights. So to conclude, it may be easy to advise to the courts to keep out of the policy domain, but what is more difficult is for the institutions in the government and in the private sectors to maintain these standards and pass the court's triple test of fairness, transparency, and freedom from exploitation. So these are the three points which the government, which this court is looking for. So it is very much essential for the government and the private institutes to pass in this test. Now moving on to the next editorial, which is rollback in Romania. This is regarding the protest, the protest in the Romania, which are the largest since the fall of communism in the country in 1989. Now the reason for the protest is that regarding the government's attempt to decriminalize the people, or decriminalize the people who are involved in cases with graft, with graft of sums below certain threshold. So the people who are involved in the cases of corruption with the amount of certain below the certain threshold, then such people are not, then they're not considered as criminals. So protesting this, the Romanian citizens are protesting against this. Now the government has revoked this from the pressure due to the protest, but the government is still they're still insisting on pursuing the controversial objective of to pardon the errant officials through normal parliamentary route. And the reason given is that due to the overcrowding of prisons. So the reason of overcrowding of prisons is given in order to pardon these officials through normal parliamentary route. See now, Romania was admitted into the EU or European Union in 2007 on the precondition of the membership, with the precondition that there should be a strict enforcement of the rule of law by Romania. So, but if you take the reality, the Romania still is ranking high on the graft and crime index, and also there has been criticism for the treatment of the minorities. Now, the Romania, it has drawn enormous or huge economic and cultural benefit from the freedom of movement and work in a largely borderless EU. So it has drawn an economic and cultural benefit from the freedom of movement and freedom to work in the largely borderless European Union. So even after obtaining such benefits, the Romania now should not shy away from its accountability. Therefore, it should follow the rule of law and ensure to decrease the corruption in its country. Now, coming to the next editorial, which is the pride as well as prejudice. This is regarding the protest by the tribal bodies in the Naga land against the 33% of reservation for women in urban local bodies. So, coming on to the pressure from these tribal bodies, the Nagaland government has enacted few acts, in order to exempt itself from the reservation of 33% for the women in urban local bodies. And it's the reason given that the Nagaland government is saying that it is such provisions of reservation for the women, it violates the article 371A of the constitution and infringe upon the Naga culture, tradition and customary laws. Now, if you analyze the situation, these tribal bodies which are protesting against the reservation for women, they are all male dominated, and these tribal bodies are not the traditional institutions as recognized by the Article 371A. So this is very important point. These are not the traditional institutions which are recognized under the Article 371A. So, and coming to the municipal bodies, which speaks about the reservation for women, that is 33% of reservation for women in urban local bodies. These are the constitutional bodies and not the traditional Naga institutions. These municipal bodies are the constitutional bodies, not the traditional Naga institutions. Therefore, these tribal bodies do not have any mandate on the municipal bodies. Now, the concern is that the Nagaland government, it is demanding the central government that it should be exempted from the article, or sorry, exempted from the part 9A, which speaks about the reservation of women in the municipal bodies. Now, coming to question why reservation for women is very much necessary in Nagaland, especially in Naga patriarchal societies like Naga societies, because there has been historical culture of inequalities in the Nagaland. Even though Nagas don't practice sati, female infanticide, feticide, or they do not believe in a dowry or caste system, but still there has been inequalities because Nagas culture and tradition is tradition, they preclude women from owning the land. So they don't women don't have the rights to own the land, and they are also not included in the decision making. So these are the two rights, which is exactly what Article 371A protects. Therefore, it is very much essential in order to grant the women their rights by allowing them to participate in the decision making. So that's it for this editorial. Hope you have enjoyed this video. If so, please I would request you to like and subscribe to my channel and also give me your feedback. Thanks for watching.